Now, I've not been one to celebrate or mourn Charlie Kirk's death. Like, I just truly don't care. But y'all expelling people now for telling the truth? Whatever happened to freedom of speech?
Oh my God. Oh, buddy.
Now, I'm not here to morally police whether or not the student was right or wrong for his behavior. But what I am saying is, I feel like it's unfair to expel a student based on their perception or their reality. And let's also take into account that it seems like they were celebrating Charlie Kirk in that video. I hate how the media puts out a part of what happened and not the whole thing, because there's clearly more to the story. And the statement that they put out says that they will not tolerate behavior that mocks, trivializes, or promotes violence on their campus. But you're okay with people celebrating Charlie Kirk when he did all of the above about black people? And let's not forget when Trayvon Martin was unalived and people were making jokes about the way that he was unalived. Nobody was expelled then. I think expulsion was a bit too excessive in this situation. Texas State University.
Violence. I'm against the murder of anybody for their political opinions. Anybody. Let me get a round of applause for that. Now, we are here for two reasons. Number one, the expulsion of a student who used his free speech rights this week, and for the racist remarks that we've heard all week at this very same statue. Let's talk to the first one first. Okay. If you don't know, a young man the other day was caught doing some obscene gestures, said some words, and in the fastest time I've ever seen justice take place, he was expelled the same day after our governor, white supremacist Greg Abbott, gerrymandering Greg Abbott, decided to send a tweet out and tell our president, get him out of here. And he did it expeditiously.
Boy. So once again, we got to talk about another F around and find out story featuring a woke student who thought it would be a good idea to openly mock the assassination of Charlie Kirk in one of the most disgusting ways possible during a Charlie Kirk vigil on a college campus. Okay, we've seen these deranged college students mock Charlie Kirk's death, and they're shocked to find out that, hey, there are consequences for openly celebrating political assassinations in this country. And they're boohoo, whining, crying, racism and victimhood, right? As they always do, instead of just taking some accountability and responsibility for the action. So I want to react to this video featuring this one student at Texas State, again, who was expelled for this disgusting display during a Charlie Kirk memorial event. So let's get into it.
State students no longer at the university after a video showed him appearing to mock Charlie Kirk's death. Fox 7 Austin's Marco Bittnell joins us live from Texas State with a closer look at this. Marco.
Well, Mike, it all happened yesterday at a memorial event held by Texas State's Turning Point chapter. In that video, a young man can be seen slapping his neck before falling to the ground, apparently referring to the death of Charlie Kirk. A large crowd gathering Monday on Texas State's campus. The main focus, a memorial for Charlie Kirk.
I went to class and then came back, stopped at the vigil. It grew exponentially.
Tensions rising as a video then shows a young man slapping his neck, appearing to refer to Kirk's death.
He was reenacting Charlie Kirk's assassination and then decided to jump on top of our vigil.
Gavin Frailer is a member of Texas State's Turning Point chapter and was at the vigil. He says the man then made his way towards the top of the memorial and made the same gestures.
I was there kind of right up in the front row and then watching it all happen. I watched him jump up on top of our vigil, do his thing. He did his whole reenactment, fell down, and then on his way off the vigil, I don't know whether he hawked a loogie or he just decided to spit on the vigil.
You want to spit on a vigil? That's lousy.
It was unclear if the individual was a student at first, but on Tuesday afternoon, Texas State announcing they had identified the young man as a student and that he was no longer with the university. The letter goes on to say that students can disagree on issues but cannot pull themselves into a situation which adds anxiety on campus.
He's obviously doing something that's very offensive to those people, but the First Amendment protects your right to be offensive. The problem is that he did it in the context of going into a group of people, elevating himself above them, taking acts that are offensive to those people in a situation that could flare up, and then kind of putting an extra flourish on it at the end.
The announcement from Texas State came after Governor Abbott made his voice heard earlier in the day, posting on X that this sort of conduct is unacceptable, urging the university to expel him immediately. And Texas State has not released the identity of the student, and they say that federal law prevents them from releasing any more information on an individual student's conduct. Mike?
We asked our viewers today if they believe these students should be expelled for their actions on campus regarding Charlie Kirk's death. What were some of those results?
So I actually went ahead and looked at those polls on our X account, and right now it's split right down the middle almost. 51% of voters saying they are in support of there being possible expulsions for students that have free speech on Kirk's death, while 49% say that there should be no risk for students' free speech on campus. So obviously still a very divisive issue here across Central Texas. Go ahead and send it back to you on the desk, Mike, but for now, reporting from Texas State's campus, Marco Bid.
Once again, you have liberals boo-hoo-whining and crying about their so-called free speech, right? They really believe they should have the free speech to incite violence against conservatives, right? Because that's what's happening, right? That's effectively what you're doing when you come out here and you celebrate, when you openly mock and celebrate and then go harass other people, right? You're going to harass people who are simply praying at a memorial or celebrating the life of Charlie Kirk. They're not being violent. They're simply celebrating the individual, okay? But when you go and you harass those students, when you spit on a memorial, when you tear down a memorial, you vandalize a memorial, while at the same time, again, mocking the assassination in the most disgusting way possible, in my opinion, just my opinion, I think you're getting into the territory of incitement. Now, again, people can agree to disagree. I understand that. I get that. But at this point in time, considering how these individuals are literally celebrating the silencing of somebody's speech, right? They silenced Charlie Kirk in his free speech. He was literally killed over free speech. I just don't want to hear anything from these people who are being punished for their speech, right? They're not being killed, okay? Being expelled from school, losing your job is not the same thing as being assassinated, which again is something that these people openly cheered, which is why they're facing consequences. And in no world will you ever be able to convince me that I am supposed to feel bad from a free speech perspective for people who lose their jobs or get expelled from school for celebrating somebody else's free speech being taken away. But I'm somehow, some way supposed to feel bad or supposed to defend these students against what's happening to them as a result of their speech. No. I'm not going to at all. Right? No. You're not going to catch me defending any of these individuals, right? I don't care. I don't care anymore. Okay, we are beyond this. Oh, well, we should be afraid of allowing this to happen to liberals because it might happen to us. Newsflash, over the last 4 to 5, 6 years, it already happened to us. And it happened to us. It just happened to us in the worst way possible, right? Fatally. We had the most prominent conservative activists fatally silenced, right, by the left. The same people who've been trying to silence us for years. And because of their frustration from the fact that they can't silence us, they decided that, you know what, we got to engage in terrorism, right? We got to engage in terrorism in order to silence conservatives because we can't do it any other way. No, I'm not going to feel bad for these people, right? No, I'm not going to defend you. I'm going to be totally fine with whatever happens to you, okay? I don't care. I do not care. So anyways, this student is boo-hoo-whining crime racism and victimhood because, of course, in situations like this, the real victims, again, are the liberals who aren't being assassinated, okay, but they're being fired or they're being expelled for celebrating political assassination. So let's read here. The Texas State University student who was expelled when he was caught mocking Charlie Kirk's assassination in front of a horrified crowd claimed he, quote, made a mistake in the heat of the moment. Devion Canty Jr. pleaded for help with his educational costs on GoFundMe Thursday, just days after he vilely spewed profanity at a group of mourners outside the school's Turning Point USA chapter. Quote, recently I faced a situation where I had to choose between immediate expulsion or withdrawing from the university, Canty Jr. said on the crowdfunding page. I made the decision to withdraw, not because I wanted to leave, but for my own safety and for the well-being of the campus community. Yeah, so basically the school gave him two options. It's like, hey, you can either get expelled or you can withdraw. He chose to withdraw. And now he's claiming that, well, I did it because, you know, I'm trying to look out for my own safety, right? Again, it's funny how these people are so concerned about their own safety, right? And not having any harm done to them, while, again, openly celebrating harm being done to others. Fascinating stuff. Absolutely fascinating. Again, this is why I say I am beyond trying to defend people and their free speech when, again, they are essentially inciting violence. They celebrate violence being done towards people like me, right? No. I will never defend this, okay? I will never feel bad for people like this. Canty claimed he was being targeted as an out-of-control, disrespectful young black man, and that he was just a passionate student who made a mistake in the heat of the moment, he wrote in his self-run fundraiser. Yeah. So he's claiming that he's being targeted as an out-of-control, disrespectful young black man. Now, I don't know how else you describe the type of behavior that this dude participated in. I mean, you were out of control. You were disrespectful, right? I mean, that's who you are, right? But again, he's trying to pull the race card. He's trying to say, oh, woe is me, right? Racism, hate, and bigotry. I'm the real victim, okay? Not the people who were subject to my disrespectful behavior as they mourn the death of a civil rights icon. No, not those people. I'm the real victim, okay? Because I'm afraid of being hurt, right? Even though, again, conservatives are the people that have been targeted, that are being assassinated. No. Feel bad for me. I'm black. I'm the real victim, okay? Quote, spit on, call racial slurs, and witnessing women being cursed at and pushed around. I spoke up, and while I recognize my actions weren't perfect, I did not harm anyone, Canty wrote. Yeah. So now he's claiming he was spit on, he was called racial slurs, right? And, you know, he witnessed women were being cursed at and pushed around like he's some type of hero, like he was standing up for women. No. You decided to do this out of hate. Let's keep it 100. Only a hateful person, okay, could go out of their way to openly mock and harass students as they're mourning a death, right? Again, this comes from a place of hate. And this guy claims that he was spit on, he was called racial slurs. I don't care. I don't care whatsoever, okay? I don't care, okay? I don't care. Okay, if you were spit on, I don't care if they call you the N-word, right? I probably would have said the same thing. I heard the N-word in video, actually, and it came from this black dude. So, you know, I'm just saying, you know, if these things are actually true, that he was spit on and called the N-word and all this and that, I don't care, okay? Canty, who named his fundraiser, going back to TXST, was captured on video shouting at mourners on campus after Kirk was struck by a single gunshot by alleged assassin Tyler Robinson during an event at Utah Valley University. Quote, Charlie got hit in the neck. B, Canty yelled in the video, slapping his neck and intimidating the recoil of the bullet's impact. Yeah. Again, this is the person who says that, well, we should be concerned about his well-being, right? Against violence being done to him, right? That is what thinks that we're supposed to be concerned about. The ousted Bobcat student then climbed up to the base of a statue at the San Macros campus and repeated the controversial reenactment, dramatically slumping to the ground as if he were shot. Texas Governor Greg Abbott called for the immediate removal of the student from the public institution after the viral video circulated across the internet. Quote, hey, Texas State, this conduct is not accepted at our schools. Expel this student immediately. Mocking assassinations must have consequences, Abbott wrote on X. School officials quickly identified the instigator in the video and announced he was removed from the student population. The university has identified the student in the disturbing video from Monday's event. I will not tolerate behavior that mocks, trivializes, or promotes violence on our campuses. It is antithetical to our TXST values, Texas State University President Kelly Damphouse said in a statement. Canty claims he was given the option of immediate expulsion or withdrawing from the school and allegedly chose to remove himself from the university. He has raised nearly $2,000 as of Saturday morning and set a goal of $9,000. Quote, this fundraiser will help me cover the cost of pursuing my education elsewhere or taking the necessary steps to return to Texas State. He wrote, I still believe in my education and my future, and I would love to be welcomed back on campus one day. Yeah. So this is the GoFundMe, okay? It's raised about $3,000. Of course, you're going to have some idiots donate to this, okay? But I see everything here except an apology, right? He even has a Charlie Kirk quote, right? A Charlie Kirk quote. Okay, which again, the irony here is that this individual was literally celebrating Charlie Kirk being killed over his free speech, and then he wants to use Charlie Kirk as a clutch for why he should be punished for his free speech. Again, he wasn't physically assaulted. There was no violence done against him. He was not assassinated like Charlie Kirk. But again, this guy is trying to use Charlie Kirk, who again, he celebrated having his free speech taken away from him as a way to defend his own free speech. Amazing, absolutely amazing. No, that's not how it works, right? That's not how this works. So again, like I said, boohoo, whine, and cry, victimhood, racism, you know, I'm a black man, so therefore I'm the real victim, racial slurs, I was spit on, like all this nonsense, everything except an apology. Everything except an apology, right? So, you know, hey, at the end of the day, this is accountability culture, and I will not ever defend these people or feel bad for these people for what happens to them as a result of their celebrations of Charlie Kirk's assassination, right? For all I care, if they can never get a job, if a school never accepts them, right? If they can't be able to provide for themselves for the rest of their lives, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is, because ultimately, Charlie Kirk can't get his life back. He can't get his life back. He was killed over his free speech. So anything that happens to these leftists, just by definition, it's just, right, like not as bad as what happened to Charlie Kirk, okay? So these people had no problems with Charlie Kirk being killed over his free speech. In fact, they celebrated. So again, who am I to come out here and defend these people and say, oh, it's bad that, you know, they're being canceled or they're getting expelled or they're being fired because of their speech. No. I'm not going to say anything, right? The type of energy that they put out there in the world is the same type of energy that they're getting back, right? This is what they said about Charlie Kirk in order to justify what happened to him. So, hey, you got to live by that, right? That also applies to you as well if you're going to apply that to him. But we already know how these leftists think. They don't believe in consequences for themselves. No, right? They only believe in standards and consequences for conservatives, right? Consequences and accountability, that's for conservatives only, right? That's not for liberals. Liberals should just be allowed to do whatever, right? With no consequences or accountability whatsoever. That's what they believe. And I'm sorry, I don't believe in that. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.